Okay, so these are both important things. So, actually, let me rip this one down. We can use the one behind it. All right, come over here. You started with it's dark, so write it's dark.
I'm too short.
No, you're not. Yours will just be there. All right, you don't have to do it all the way top. What else? Where it's located is what Angela said.
I'm assuming what movie they're gonna go see.
Big important one right there. What movie are they going to see? Many of the movies that are out that are PG-13 and above are not allowed with someone who has offense-specific behaviors. Because of the violence and the sexual content and the profanity and the drug use. So most of those movies are going to be no. So when you're sitting there going with your client and I know, let's go to a movie. Yeah, let's see blah, blah, blah. Really think about it before it comes out of your mouth, because if this is a person with offense-specific needs, you may not be able to take them there. And why? I mean, part of working with this clientele is to help them normalize their behaviors and get back into a supported community. And so we don't want to jeopardize any of these things. And some of the kids will tell you, oh yeah, it's totally fine, my PO is fine with me. See, I can tell you from being on the safety planning end of it, most of your PG-13 or higher are going to be no-goes. All right, what else?
Well, I came from at that point a little bit different, and let me tell you where I
Okay.
came from that point. So if you have a kid and you know their history, and they had perpetration issues with small children, if you brought them to a PG movie, then you would be surrounded essentially by a lot of small children as opposed to an older population of people. So wouldn't you kind of be screwed in either situation?
Pretty much. So movie theaters are really hard things to safety plan around. So if you have a movie that you want to take a client to or they're really motivated by, start safety planning in advance. Because let's problem solve this. Oh, go ahead.
And timing of the day. Because that's a big one that I always look for when I take a client, because during the day, during the week, it's like barely anybody versus obviously weekends.
Exactly. That is a strategy in safety planning. So that's good informed supervision. Is if I am going to take a client to something that is a little more worrisome because of the age of the other population, then I need to pay close attention to what time of the day I'm taking them so that I have better space, right? Better time to be around. What else is a way to safety plan that?
Where you sit in the theater.
Where you sit in the theater. Tell me what would make the difference.
Well, I mean, if you're in the back, then it's easier to like get up and leave if needed. And because I mean, if you're in the middle, I mean, you might be surrounded by kids on all sides. So it's, you know, just having to watch one side versus, you know, being surrounded on all four edges.
Sure.
Know your emergency exit.
Know your emergency exits? Sure. We should do that with, most of these things we should take into consideration with all of our clientele. So one of the things that when I was talking with one of my clients who does have offense-specific needs, when she was reading some of the things that I was at, she's like, I think everyone needs to be supervised this way. And I'm like, absolutely. And I supervise my children at home exactly this way as well. You know, I pay attention because I want to make sure they're never accused of anything. You know, I want to make sure. It's a very interesting time we live in, and so we want to make sure that all of it. What else?
I mean, how many people are going? Because I know, like, back working in cottage, I mean, we would take half the cottage, and don't you need, like, one informed supervisor for that client, and then it's the other staff watching, like, the rest of the clients?
Yep. Yep. So how many are going, and do you have extra supports? There's one for sure we've got to have before we go on to the next one.
What to do in the bathroom?
What to do in the bathroom? Ding, 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 ding. So very challenging situation, especially if the informed supervisor is a different sex than the client using the bathroom. And certainly, there are some gender identity things that, as you've all seen coming up, being displayed in the political arena. From my perspective, I'm glad we're drawing attention to it, because I think the more sort of unisex bathrooms that, you know, are family bathrooms that only one person goes in at a time, we just did that all the way around and we stopped with some of the other stuff, I think would be a better place, but the world doesn't run according to Wendy, so we still have to go by some of these things. So finding what to do in the bathroom. If you are same sex as the client you're supervising, go in the bathroom with them. You know, make sure that you kind of go in and say, oh, hey, there's a stall there, you know. Kind of be there as the support. How many of you have been in, especially a women's bathroom, and a little kid puts their head under the stall at you? I can't tell you how many times that's happened to me, right? So really safety planning with your client that may happen, and that doesn't automatically mean that you think she's going to jump down and sexually abuse that child, but have them be prepared so that they have some of that anxiety down of, and when this happens, all you need to say is, oh honey, go back to your mom, you know, and kind of, again, be above board. Don't try and be below the radar, be loud so that that mom knows, hey, your kid's head's under my stall over here, right? So that they're actually coming with it. That a lot of places are doing, they're doing the family bathrooms, and the family bathrooms really are the best. Because male or female can go in there, it's only one at a time, or, you know, a caregiver if you're needing to give someone care in a different way. And so you can just, you know, stand outside the bathroom and they can have privacy, and, you know, there's that. So try and take a look and problem solve these things in advance. Sit down and have that conversation with your client. Hey, when we go to the theater, it's going to be in your best interest if you use the bathroom before we go. But if you need to, when you're here, this is what we're going to do. We're going to look for a family bathroom. If we can't find a family bathroom, we're going to look for, you know, the stall, and go at a time when it's the least crowded, and blah, 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 right? Really have these conversations open and honest, so it doesn't hit them by surprise when you're going, where are you going? Which stall are you going in? What bathroom, right? Okay. All right, so you are off the hook. Next person.
Ooh.
Someone else. Come up here. Come on.
I nominate Josie.
All right, Josie, you're nominated. So which one do you want?
I'm gonna pick mine. Mine was court.
Yours
I feel
was
like
court.
That can be a little hectic sometimes.
Great. So on this side, you get to do court. So let's help Josie out. Don't leave her up here standing by herself. What are some of the issues with court?
Other criminals.
Say that loudly, please.
Other criminals.
Other criminals. One of the things specifically about residential, and you may actually wind up facing it in the community, is if a client has offense-specific needs and has charges, they have to register, well, not all of them. Most have to register as a sex offender, and they have to go in within 5 days after either a move or their next birthday, right? So you may have in the community a time where you have to take your client to court or to the police station to register. And I gotta tell you, I've done quite a few of the girls from Excelsior. It really is very unsettling because they don't differentiate between juvenile or adult offenders when you're registering. So you are in the exact same place with the adult offenders, with males, with females, with homeless, with trans, you know, so it really is kind of internally disturbing for you to go, okay, I am here with my client that I'm supposed to somewhat be protecting and be, you know, around, and I'm here with these other criminals. So kind of also having that conversation in advance as well, you know, hey, I know it kind of makes me upset, so let's make sure that we're acknowledging the triggers of how this is gonna be. All right, what else besides other criminals?
Triggers.
Like what?
I mean, there's other court cases there that,
Okay.
Like seeing officers. That's
Seeing police officers is a trigger.
Seeing other peop-
Hearing other court cases, because a lot of times they're talking about their offenses. So, criminal behaviors,
They might see their
authorities. Generally speaking, they won't if it's a sexual offense. It might if it's an assault, but if it's a sexual offense, they generally will not see the victim. They will generally clear the courtroom for the victim, and the victim goes in by themselves. And then, so you may, you know, if you're out.
What about, like the victim's parents?
Okay, victim's parents might be.
I'm sure they'd probably wanna be there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, you absolutely might see victim's parents.
I think the offender's parents is important too.
Offender's parents, yeah, yeah. Because a lot of times, especially with girls, and even juvenile boys, the victims are known to the family. There's such a minute population of true predators that are out there seeking, as far as in the juvenile world, that they're gonna be known to the family. They're gonna be family friends, they're gonna be cousins, they're gonna be younger siblings, they're gonna be older siblings, they're gonna be, so generally speaking, gonna be, so there's a lot of shame base that goes both with, being in front of their own parents as well as being in front of the victim's parents, and sometimes the victim's parents are their own parents, and so the parents have a really strange role for themselves of how do I support my child and support the victim, you know, well. What else?
I think you have to discuss like appropriate or expected behaviors.
Mm-hmm, absolutely,
Behavior them.
absolutely. So, and in every single one of these, we should always put the bathroom down, because I don't know about you, but when I get really anxious and nervous, sometimes I either need to throw up or I need to use the restroom very quickly, right? So, and we've got to expect that our clients might feel the same way. So bathrooms should almost always be somewhere on your safety plan, just in case a trigger happens and they get anxious and they need to be able to get there. All right, so when we're talking about court, what are some of the things that you all feel like you would need support in? How do I approach this out in the community?
I feel like the court's a lot easier because you have more support as a staff member in case something happens, so it would be a lot easier to seek support out, given the population of people over there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you would obviously need less in that setting
Mm-hmm.
than you do.
Mhm. Probably you're going to be, we as individuals will probably be the least responsible for the client in the actual court setting. We can be probably the biggest support for them in some ways because we aren't responsible for them, but we're gonna have the least liable culpability in that particular setting because their parents will probably be, but really, doing a safety plan and identifying all these different areas as their triggers. And how are you gonna work through that if you see, this person's parents? We're gonna sit down and we're gonna deep breathe. You're gonna reach over and squeeze my hand, you know, or we're gonna do this, this, and this, you know, coming up with some plans for that. And really, again, kind of coming at it from a no-nonsense, let's not be embarrassed, let's talk about it up front, let's realize that you may suddenly feel like you need to throw up, so you and I will hightail it to the bathroom, you know, any of those pieces that we're kind of laying out in advance so that they then feel like they have a plan. All right, great. Next person.
Wendy, really quick though,
Yeah.
like, for the court piece, I
Mhm.
mean, what if you're one of the therapists on the case and you're getting called into court on a kid who's perpetrated?
I need more specifics around that.
Like, have you ever had a court case where you had to go in and talk about, like, in court with the kid after if they perpetrate on another kid? Have you ever been in that situation?
Really specifically, once you are engaged as the therapist for the perpetrator, you are protected by confidentiality. So you cannot talk about anything that's brought up in therapy. You can, however, talk about behaviors and following safety plans. You can bring up resistance to safety plans. That, you know, I've had to give my recommendations to the court on clients about safety plans, you know. And some kids, I've had to go, well, this client has gone into her room and read her book every time I bring up safety plans. That's a behavior. That's not talking about anything that we did in therapy, and that's what you can testify to. You cannot, and just to be really clear, because a lot of you won't face this, but some of you in the therapeutic world might face this. If a client discloses to you about sexually perpetrating on somebody, as we know, for all of us, you're a mandatory reporter, right? You must call and report that. I would advise all of you that when someone has indicated that they've sexually perpetrated against someone, especially someone younger, or mentally handicapped, that you take the report, you immediately let the client know, that's something I have to report. Can I have the name and age of the person that you're telling me? And then I would be really clear, we're not, because I want to protect your rights also, we're not going to go any further in this session. Don't investigate it, don't go anywhere with it, really kind of end this. And then call in your report and then wait until they've decided, as far as talking about that. You can do work on other subjects, but as far as that, let them know that that's where you're stopping. Because what we want to have happen is we want to have the district attorney and the Department of Human Services and all the powers that be, number one, protect the victim, right? If the victim needs to be moved out of the home or the perpetrator needs, you know, someone has to make that decision and they have to do that. But also we want to wait until the courts have ordered an issue of protection for the perpetrator. Because once the courts have issued an order of protection, anything they disclose in therapy still has to be reported. You still, you know, if it's a new disclosure, you still have to report it, but they will not be liable for charges against those other disclosures. So, and the thought process behind that, and I know especially a lot of victims advocates are like, oh my God, that's terrible, you know, they should be charged with every single one, et cetera, et cetera. But what we've discovered is if you, in therapy, are allowed to disclose all the sexual behaviors that you have been doing and all those without any more fear of charges, any more fear of court, you're probably going to be more willing to actually get the help you need. If you're going to get, you know, charges for the 4 different kids that you were playing doctor with, then why would I tell you about the 4 different kids? I would only tell you about the one and just get the charges for the one. So these are the things that you really, because you want them to disclose so that we can get the victims the help that they need, right? We want that to come out so that we can break that cycle and we can move forward. So it's really important that we kind of